When it's all been said and done, there is just one thing that matters. Did I do my best to live for truth? Did I live my life for you? And when it's all been said and done, all my treasure will mean nothing. Only what I've done for love's reward will stand the test of time. Lord, your mercies are so great that you look beyond our weakness and find precious gold in miry clay, turning sinners into saints. So I will always sing your praise, here on earth and ever after. For you've shown me heaven's my true home. When it's all been said and done, you're my life when life is gone. So when it's all been said and done, there is just one thing that matters. Did I do my best to live for truth? Did I live my life for you? Lord, I'll live my life for you. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. I'm going to do a couple of wee solo-y things here before bring the band back out again, and so you can relax or whatever. And here's one that I do a lot. And in fact, people request this. I'm just suggesting that to you, because just in case you're thinking, what on earth is this fella singing about? But once upon a time, and it's a true story, a young man from my church was sitting while I was leading worship, and I played him a hymn, and it was "And Can It Be That I Should Gain?" You know that? And can it be that I... Exactly. So anyway, he sang along, and then he went home to his mum, and he said, "Hey, Mum, Robin has written a fantastic new song." He did. And she said, "What was it? And how does it go?" And he sang the first line. It goes, "And can it be?" So she laughed herself silly. And she rang me up and she said, "You never guess. You're Charles Wesley. My son thought you wrote that." You see, so we had a good laugh together, and we laughed. Oh, we talked about the foolishness of youth. And then we put the phone down. And I put the phone down, and I was immediately convicted because I thought to myself, well, of course he doesn't know that Charles Wesley wrote that. In fact, Charles Wesley wrote that hymn, but John Wesley actually wrote some stuff in the margins to correct it here and there. And he used to do that, apparently. That was his way. And so I thought, well, actually there's a whole generation out there, and they don't know who Charles Wesley or John Wesley or any of these guys are. And frankly, they could care less, because those guys have been dead for nearly 300 years. Doesn't matter, isn't relevant, whatever. And please, if you're a Methodist, don't be offended. I myself am a Methodist. I have a membership number, etc. Don't know if you know that. Are there any Methodists in tonight? Oh yeah, one. Way! There's not that many of us left, really. The thing about it is, now this will shock some of you. Once you're a Methodist, you're always a Methodist, because if you've gone through confirmation class and you did your little stuff, you get a number. It's a roll number. And that roll number is on file in Aldersgate House in London, England. And if you want to not be a Methodist, you have to write to Aldersgate House and ask to be excused and get your name taken off the roll. And I would advise you to do that, because actually the real reason why they have your name on the roll is just in case the Baptists ever declare war on the Methodists. Then you're going to get a call up, so that would not be a good thing. Anyway, so I'm thinking about this, and then I thought, you know what? You know, if John and Charles Wesley were here, they would be saying to you and me, listen, we got on horseback, and we rode the whole way up and down Great Britain, and we preached the gospel. The people in the days of John and Charles Wesley did not even understand what the church was talking about, because the church spoke Latin and a high English, and the ordinary man in the street just spoke a sort of an ugly Anglo-Saxon, and ne'er the two ever met. And John and Charles said, this is bad. This is the greatest gospel. The smallest child can understand it, and yet the greatest mind could spend a whole lifetime going into the depths of it and never, ever fully comprehend. And so that's what they did. And if they were here now, they would be saying to you, it's about time you got up and you went out and you spoke the gospel language in a simple way that people would understand and so that many would see and believe. They brought revival to Great Britain, actually. The Wesleys did. And it's a good thing. So I wrote this song. Now, this is a made-up song. I should say that, because on one occasion, a lovely young lady, after an event like this, came up to me and said, where did all that happen? That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And I had the sorrow to tell her that I just made it all up. Not the bit about the boy and his mummy, but this bit that's coming. Now, there's a bit where you join in, and it's actually not a sing-along, it's a shout-along. It is. And I'm not going to tell you where it is, because I've been told that people in Bozeman are of excellent intelligence, and you'll know immediately what to do and what to say. And if you don't, we'll just stop until you get it right. All right? Michael W. Smith writes a wonderful song, and so does Matt Redman. He moves it along, and my friend Paul Baloche, words and melodies fine. But my favorite of all is John Wesley. Well, the organist played and the choir sweetly sang a song about freedom and losing your chains. So I strode to the front when the service had ended, say, who wrote that song? Why, John Wesley. So I asked Reverend Bob if it would be all right for John to lead worship on some Sunday night, and surprisingly he agreed that it might. He said, go ahead, kid, book John Wesley. So John Wesley is coming to my church on the third Sunday night in July. The Reverend Bob gave me a telephone number. I rang it and spoke to some guy. He said, sure, John would love to, I'll tell him. And though his attitude did not impress me, still a promise is a promise, so I've put up a sign saying, coming next Sunday. Oh, come on. It's very good. You got it at the back, but you've got to shout it out with great gusto. John Wesley, right? Particularly for this poor Methodist here, who's the only one of her kind in our midst. All right, so, but a promise is a promise, so I've put up a sign saying, coming next Sunday. Right, listen. When the day finally came, apprehension was high. No one noticed the horse in the parking lot outside. The Reverend Bob stood to speak on delusion and pride, when in through the door came John Wesley. Now I'll be first to admit he did not look too fine. I guess you could say the years had not been kind, for his clothes were all dusty and he had a weird smile when he turned and said, "Hi, I'm John Wesley." Then the next thing we heard a calamitous roar as the whole congregation fled out through the door. The Reverend Bob took a shortcut, out the window he soared, leaving me, a few kids, and John Wesley. For John Wesley is coming to my church on the third Sunday night in July. The Reverend Bob gave me a telephone number. I rang it and spoke to some guy. He said, "Sure, John would love to, I'll tell him." And though his attitude did not impress me, still a promise is a promise, so I've put up a sign saying, "Coming next Sunday." So I bade him good day and all that sort of thing, but he motioned be silent. He started to sing about sweet love divine and the birth of a king. For these were the songs of John Wesley. Oh, for 1,000 tongues my Redeemer to praise. And can it be that I should gain an interest in the Lamb who was slain? And we sang along with John Wesley. Then the last thing he said was a word to the wise. Proud and cynical hearts the Lord will always despise, but the faith of a child's precious still in his eyes. That he might even send you John Wesley. So John Wesley is coming to my church on the third Sunday night in July. The Reverend Bob gave me a telephone number, though I think now he probably lied. But he said John would be there, he'd tell him, and though his attitude did not impress me, still a promise is a promise, so I've put up a sign saying, "Coming next Sunday." Thank you. Thank you very much. Here's another one, just another one, and then we'll get the band back out. I like this one. This is the shortest song I've ever written, and there is no religious content in it at all. And if you're thinking, what? Is this not supposed to be some sort of a thing like that? I'm sure there's some folks out there, and you've been tricked into being here. Because, I know the conversation went something like this. You want to go to a concert? It's this Irish guy. He's quite good. You get a laugh and all. And they've said, "No, wait a minute. Is it some sort of church thing? You're always trying to get me to go to church. I don't want to go to church. You're always trying to trick me into it." No, says you. It's just a concert. You'll have fun. And here you are, and you're sitting there saying, "This is some sort of a church thing. This man is preaching at me, and they're singing things." And I just want to say there's one big fat reason why they asked you to come and bought you a ticket and brought you here. And you know what it is? It's because they love you. And because the God of heaven and earth loves you as well. I have a friend back home, plays drums. He's actually a Nigerian prince, honestly. He didn't know it, but he grew up in Belfast. And in his day, he was about the only black baby in Belfast, a population of about 500,000 people. But he grew up. When he was 32 years old, his wife said to him, Nicky, do you not ever wonder where you came from? Because, like, we're all white, and you're sort of... And he's a very contented man. He lived in a very tough area, a working class area in Belfast. And he said, no, don't bother me at all, actually. Happy enough. But it turned out his father was actually a Nigerian regent. And I'll not go through the whole story, but one of the things that when they found this all out, Nicky realized he was of royal blood from Nigeria, that he had to go to Nigeria. And during the ceremony, they had a feast. And apologies to any vegetarians here, because I noticed in the stores and shops there's quite a little vegetarian influence here in Bozeman, very trendy. But the thing is, which I find hard to believe in Montana, but anyway, there you go. Because I know what you're famous for, you know. I had one of those steaks last night. They are fantastic, actually. How can anybody be a veg? Anyway, no, forget that. Anyway, what they do, every month they slaughter an animal, a goat or a lamb, a goat or whatever, and they have a feast for the royal family. And they give everybody a portion, who's a member of the extended royal family in this tribal area in Nigeria. And his father, when they finally got reunited with Nicky, his son, he said to me, you know, Nicky, every month when we had that feast, a portion was set aside for the lost son. And I remember thinking, when Nicky told me that, this is the greatest gospel story I've ever heard. And I just want to say, if you're here and you're wondering what's going on, what this is all about, here is the truth, right? Nicky McWilliams, my drummer, was the son of a king and didn't know it. Then one day, he found his way to his father, and he realized he had an inheritance. And it was only his, and no one else could have it. It was his inheritance and his life. You are, whoever you are, the son and daughter or daughter of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He's your father, and he loves you. And you have an inheritance in him. Because bought with a price by the Son of God, you have an inheritance, and it's yours and no one else's. And until you come to that place where you take up and pick up that inheritance and bring yourself before God, you'll never know what the life is that you should be living. All right? So that's why they brought you. And sorry for the big sort of preach, but it's very important. Anyway, God bless you, whoever you are. This is a song called Old Photographs. And I'd forgotten about it. But I remembered because my wife had a birthday. And she had a birthday with a naught in it. You know that one, ladies? A zero birthday. You know that? You know? Something A. I can't tell you which one it is. She'd never forgive me. But it was a traumatic one coming up. Because she kept saying things like this. Don't be having a party on my birthday. I don't want a party on my birthday. Don't you even think of having a party on my birthday. I want this birthday to go past with no commemoration, no party. Don't even try having some sort of a stupid surprise party on my birthday. Listen. The 10th commandment, the 11th commandment is thou shalt not have a party on my birthday. Well, ladies, here's the thing. Whenever you say something like that over and over and over again to a man, there's only one word sticks in his head. Party. Right? So I had a party. And listen, I had the party to end old parties because I actually brought an ABBA tribute band. And we had a Mamma Mia party. Yep. And you know what, men? You won't believe this in Montana, but it is the truth. You know all the words to the ABBA songs. You know, and you're sitting there, no, Robin, no. I am into country and western, and that's all. You know, honestly. Because what happens is your wife drags you onto the dance floor, and they're playing some tune. And you know the words like this. If you're all alone. Oh, that's too high. If you're all alone. I can't sing anymore. If you're all alone. When the pretty birds have flown. Honey, I'm still free. Hear those male voices there? A few of them. One very brave man down here at the front. See? Well, that's it. Sorry about that. I messed up. My wife's going to kill me now for messing up the ABBA song. Um, but they did. So my sons are of the digital age, you see. And they said, hey, Dad, don't you have some old photographs of Mum? Yes, I do. Through the ages. Well, yes, I do. Well, you could collect them up. And don't you have one of those digital projectors like these things that project on the screen? Well, I do. He says, well, if you got us the photographs through the ages, we would digitize them. I didn't even know what that meant. You know, we would digitize them, and we'd put them on a computer, and we'd project them on the screen in her party room, 15 feet wide and 12 foot high, and she'd love it. And she did. She's never spoken of it ever since, but I just assumed she was so touched by it that that's what happened. Well, I'm looking for these pictures, photographs, and they're not like they are now, stuck in some computer. They were in, tin boxes, biscuit tins, Tupperware boxes, stuff like that, old cardboard boxes, shoe boxes, some of them in a big plastic. Remember the big plastic albums? You slipped all your little photographs into an album, and then it's sitting in a cupboard somewhere, and I'm going through all those. And there's a guy in a lot of the pictures. And I'm looking at him, and I can see something in his eyes in the photograph. I can tell he's got a passion for life. I can tell he's got a race to run. He's got a purpose. He's got a beauty to win and a family to raise. And he looks serious and looks like someone who's going to do it. And it's me. And I can see all that just looking at me in a photograph. And I began to think when I saw that, I wonder if someone took my picture now, would I still have that same passion? Would I still be running this race? Would I still be going for it? Would I still be going for God and remembering the things that I promised him that I would do? And I hope so. Because we all get sometimes to a bad place, don't we? Where we get tired and we think, oh, I've done this for long enough. Surely it's a young person should be taking this over. Or okay, I've been ministering in that way. It's time for me to rest. I've got to retire. Do you know what? Your race is not yet run. I remembered this old song when I was thinking that, and that's all I could think of. Your race is not yet run. And if you're thinking, well, there's not a lot I can do, listen, you can still praise the Lord. You've got a comedian called Reginald D. Hunter. He came to England, and he's very popular. His two sisters are pastors in the Primitive Baptist Church down in Alabama. And he did a program about the song of the South, about the music from the Deep South. And he took us to the Primitive Baptist Church, and he's not a Christian at all himself. And to hear some Primitive Baptists, right? And here's one of their choruses. I'm gonna praise you, Lord, 'cause I ain't dead. See? And I thought, well, there you go. So if you're sitting there saying, what can I do? Poke the person next to you. If they move and go out, you can say, you can praise the Lord because you're not dead. All right? So your race is not yet run. This is called Old Photographs, and then we'll get the band up. Old photographs, I'm looking at scenes from our history. Who are those people? Where was that place? Is that really me? Well, I'm older, but no wiser. You've lost a little weight. And are those angelic faces they who stare across our breakfast table? Old photographs, sweet memories, happy days gone by. I love them and I hate them, for the camera does not lie. No, the camera does not lie. There you go. All right, let's have the band back on there, all the musicians. Give them another big welcome.